We are so glad that you have joined us today, and we have a great presentation we'll get to shortly. But in the meantime, why not take an opportunity to go to the chat box, give us your name, or at least tell us where you're logging in from if you're joining us by Zoom. And we'd also like to ask what employment that you are currently looking for. So take that time, give us a shout out on where you are located. Today we have our same agenda, and it's certainly filled with a success story. Hopefully you've got some to share with us a little later. We have a main speaker. We have sharing of active job leads, and we have partner updates. And we'll be telling you about Next Hub at Job Club, which will be in 2023. The mission of Job Club is to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find the schedule at www.uk.alumni.net/jobclub. So that website can be very valuable to you in your search for employment, not only today, but throughout your search in the interim of our presentations. So let's meet the Job Club team. I'm Diana Doggett, and I'm an extension specialist with the Cooperative Extension Service at the University of Kentucky. Caroline Francis is the Director of Alumni Career Services with the UK Alumni Association. Amanda Shagney is the Assistant Director of Alumni Career Services. Nicole Waite is Employment Specialist with UK STEPS Temporary Employment. We also have Suzanne Smith and Sunny Saylor at the Fayette County Extension Office, where we presently are conducting Job Club in person. And Queen Sullivan, Christy Kaufman, and Lindsay Cottle are with the UK Alumni Association. Job Club continues and is currently hosted in a hybrid format. We are in person at the Fayette County Extension Office. We are on Zoom webinar, and the chat moderator is available. And we're also on Facebook Live. This is view only, no chat moderator or job lead newsletter. We want to remind you that our free Job Club resource packet is available on our website, and you're going to find numerous resources there for your job search. So check that out. There are lots and lots of information that will help you. We also have our videos posted there from our past job clubs. So you can just go there during your search and probably meet your needs. We want to also invite you to join the Central Kentucky Job Club sharing community on LinkedIn. And this is an opportunity for you to not only post jobs, see job leads. It's just a great way to stay connected during the times that we're not meeting together at Job Club on a regular basis. So join us on LinkedIn. We know how invaluable that is. We want to always emphasize that employers and recruiters are always welcome at Job Club. In-person employer guest may have a 1-minute spotlight, and they can share active job leads with the group later on in the program after our presentation. Watch your email later today for job leads that have been sent ahead to Job Club, and we will post them through that email newsletter that everyone that is registered with our Zoom webinar will receive later on this afternoon. We're always mindful that some attendees are conducting a confidential job search. So we would ask that we would be respectful of the privacy of that job search. And we want to also again remind you that the job-related articles will be included in our Job Club reminder emails. So that it's a great newsletter. So you will benefit from that tremendously. Again, the recordings and PowerPoint slides are available on our website, www.ukalumni.net/job club. Oops, got ahead of ourselves. So now it's time for success stories. And we're always eager to hear what you've been doing since we've last met the last 2 weeks. So again, we define success stories in an array of ways. It could be that you've got an interview coming up, or you've had one. You revised your resume. You've enlarged your network. You've reached out to someone that possibly can help you. So let's use our chat box right now and tell us what's been going on with you, and what have you done that's maybe made a difference in your job search. So we are extremely pleased for anything that you have done. And we want you to definitely keep that in mind, that, job search it's a process. And there's lots of steps until you reach that final goal. And we have someone that reached the final goal. I do have a job search or a job success story to share with you. And this is from Dwayne Buckles. And he's been here in person for the last several weeks, and we've had an opportunity to work with him. And we are just thrilled to get the news that he has been offered the position of Business Development Manager with Pringle Robotics. So we applaud Dwayne, and he gave us a brief but a very sincere message to our audience today. And he says he has such a deep appreciation for Job Club, the assistance, the willingness to help him in all areas of that job search. And he advises everyone to utilize job search when and if you need to find employment. So we just rejoice with Dwayne and couldn't be happier to make that announcement today. So be sure and let us know when you get a job. But again, in accordance to our definition, we want to know when you have derived at any success in your job search. Let's go down here and there we go. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today. And she is no stranger by any means. We're always excited when Caroline Francis agrees or is in the position to present, because she is, she's one of us, but she's also just very, very revered in the world of employment and career counseling. And so there's none better than Caroline. And she is the director of the University of Kentucky Alumni Career Services Program. And she's a certified professional retirement coach, certified career counselor, certified career services provider, a global career development facilitator, and a board certified board and Gallup certified strengths coach with over 25 years of experience. Caroline has a passion for helping clients. Number one, discover their strengths. And number two, figure out what they want to do when they grow up. And finally, number three, successfully make their next step on their career journey. Her work with Encore Career clients and helping professionals make successful retirement lifestyle transitions is becoming ever more popular. Additionally, she develops career-related programming, delivers keynotes and workshops, and writes regular columns for the UK Alumni magazine. In 2013, she co-founded the Central Kentucky Job Club, which is still going strong. Caroline has an Ed.S, an MS, and a BBA from the University of Kentucky, and is a proud life member of the UK Alumni Association. Caroline, welcome, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Diana. And good morning. Welcome to Job Club. It's hard to believe almost 10 years ago, Job Club started. Diana, I have fond memories of first meetings, not knowing how many people were going to show up, and they kept coming and coming. So we'll be having our 10th anniversary next month, and it's been wonderful to meet so many people through the years and journey with them on their job search. So welcome, everyone. I know the year is coming to a close, but please do not stop networking and sending resumes in. We are getting emails from clients every day about interviews that are going to be happening in the next week. So please continue to step up your efforts. Circle back to any outstanding resumes that you may have with companies and just check on the status of their search and if you're being considered. It's an opportunity to go back to some of those companies. Today, we're going to be focusing on references. This is the first time we've had a presentation solely devoted to choosing your references and being strategic about that. I've been doing this for over 25 years, and when I work with clients, we spend a lot of time on resumes, job search strategies, LinkedIn, interviewing. But earlier in my career, I did not spend enough time working with people on choosing their references. And I saw people, when they got to the final stages of their job search, perhaps make some mistakes or faux pas when it came to choosing the right references and maneuvering that stage. So today, we'll have some takeaways for you on how to put the icing on the cake, how to finish the race by strategically choosing your references. Allison Doyle is a career author that I've followed for many years, and she has a wonderful quote on choosing references. You can't control what your references say about you. However, you can control who you select as a reference, and it's a crucial choice to make with serious consequences to your job search. So while you're listening to this presentation, I'd like for you to be making some notes on who could be potential future references for you in your job search. So let's focus on who to ask. A best practice is to no longer put references available upon request on your resume. When you do that, it shouts 80s and dates yourself a bit. That's what we did in previous days of job searching. So on your references, no longer list that on your resume. It's expected that you're going to provide references when you're asked for them. Be strategic in thinking who will be able to speak to your reliability, who knows your job search skills the best. And ideally, it will be a former supervisor. We'll talk a little more about that in the past, in a few minutes. But there are lots of different types of people that can speak to your skills, your reliability, and depending upon the target job, you can change your references. For one job, you may have these 3 to 5 people. For a different job, you may list different references that can speak to a relevant skill that they witnessed that might be more important for that particular job. You want to include at least 3, but if you give a couple of extra, that's perfectly fine because they may have trouble reaching one of your references. One of your references may be out of town and they have to make a quick decision. So 3 to 5 references are ideal to always have ready to go. So ideally, you want to use a former supervisor, someone who has witnessed your work or supervised you. If that's not possible, be thinking of colleagues, maybe people you've worked with in a team setting at work, possibly vendors, clients, board members, mentors. These would all be people you could use as a potential reference. I am often asked, can I use my pastor? Generally, you want to use someone who has witnessed your work. So unless your pastor has seen you at work or demonstrating a skill that you would be using in a future job, try not to use a family member or a pastor unless they have witnessed you in a work setting or a setting in a major volunteer role that would have some similar transferable skills to what would be required on the job. Anytime you leave a position, always ask for references before you leave the position. If you're getting ready to leave and you've given your notice, ask your current supervisor or some of your previous supervisors that might still be with the company. We've had a good working relationship. You've seen my strengths in the workplace. May I use you as a future reference? So that's a good time to ask their permission before you would leave a company. Anytime HR professionals are checking your references, a few red flags they have: if you cannot provide any former supervisors or people who have witnessed your work, or if you're only listing references from way back. So always be mindful. If I needed to look for a job tomorrow, who would I use as references? This is how you would want to lay out your reference page. You don't have to submit it whenever you submit your resume, although there are times that would be strategic. If you have some well-known people that are references or people that are in the target company, then by all means, it's certainly okay to submit as an addendum to your resume a separate page of your references. But on that page, when you're laying out your reference page, the header can look very much like the top of your resume with your contact information, your name, email, phone number, LinkedIn. That's fine to include at the top of that page. Next, for your 3 to 5 references, you will want to include their name, current title, email, and phone number. Then list how that person knows you: former supervisor, board member, customer, professor. Give a sentence or some description of how that person knows you to give some context to the people that will be contacting them. This I thought would go without saying, but I have had calls come to me to be a reference check out of the blue, and I was not asked in advance. Be respectful and always ask to someone's permission before you would use them as a reference. There's no greater surprise than getting a call when you're unprepared to speak on someone's behalf to be their reference. You want your references to be very prepared for when that out of the blue call comes. They immediately know that you're applying for this position and some information that would be relevant to share. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Feel free to use the chat box to include questions you have as I'm going through the presentation. We always welcome your questions here at Job Club. When you're having that conversation to ask permission for your future references, just come right out and candidly ask, would you be willing to serve as a future job reference? And then follow that up with, what types of things would you feel comfortable sharing about me regarding my strengths, weaknesses, reliability, and relevant job skills? So have that conversation with your references. Lisa James with Robert Half here in Lexington shared some great advice about that conversation when you're asking for permission. She says, when you ask your references what they would say about your strengths, weaknesses, and relevant skills, that can actually help you in the interview. Because when they tell you what they would say, then in the interview, if you're asked, what is your strength, your greatest strength? You can say, my former supervisor would tell you that I am blank. So then it's not like you're bragging on yourself. It's a supervisor's words that you're giving back to the interview committee. And that has strength, that has power when you can say, my supervisors will tell you that I am blank, blank, and blank. Let's take a pause here. And I'd like for our audience to think about, if you asked a former supervisor that question, what would they say some of your strengths are? And let's put those in the chat box. What are some things that a former supervisor would say are your strengths? Do we have any that have come in? What are a few strengths that you feel your former supervisors would say about you? Always helps too if they have a story or a specific example to back it up. That you give 110%, for example, that you have good technology skills or strong customer service skills, for example. Handles uncertainty. That's a good one.
Timely.
Very timely.
Always willing to take new tasks.
Willing to take on new tasks.
Reliable.
Reliable. Anytime you have a selection committee, part of their task is to be able to choose somebody who's going to hit the ground running, that's dependable, reliable. If you've made it to the interview process, these are some of the skills that employers really like to be reassured of. So having references that can share that and can give testimony to that is always powerful. Thank you all for sharing. Okay.
Just a scenario, if in a current job, your current supervisor would be a good reference, but they don't know you are looking for a job, what are some other recommendations for providing this reference?
Great question. And how to handle that scenario that if you, yes, if you are in a confidential job search and you don't want your current supervisor to be contacted, and that is a very likely scenario for many job seekers. How you would handle that is in the interview process, when they ask for your references, you would share with them that you would prefer they do not contact your current supervisor unless you are being considered as a finalist for this position. And in that case, you would like to have a conversation with your supervisor before they're contacted as a reference. And that's a best practice, because just good communication skills to say, you know, I have a good relationship with my current supervisor. This is a confidential job search. However, I ask that you do not reach out to my current supervisor unless I am a finalist for this position. And then in that case, I would like to have the conversation first and give my boss a heads up. And that's perfectly best practice standard procedure to do that. If your company has a policy where they are not allowed to give references, which is pretty common. Many companies will only say that you worked there from this date to this date and that you're eligible or not eligible for rehire. If that's your company policy, then a strategy would be to perhaps find someone who no longer works at the company, that perhaps has left the company that supervised your work in the past, or with a former company that you worked for that does not have that policy. That's a strategy. You could use an outside. If you worked with customers or vendors or clients, they could also be a testimonial and a reference and not under that policy. But many companies do offer that policy, and so you have to be a little bit more strategic and do a little more work to find someone who can actually say more about your work than just the dates that you worked there. So how do we coach and prep our references? This is the piece where it's so important to be strategic. And you may have different references for different jobs in your search, and that's perfectly fine. You may have a few references that can speak more to your sales ability, but if you're applying for a position where sales is not involved, they may not be the best references. So think about the target job. What are the top 4 or 5 skills that you would need to bring to the table for that target job? And who in your network or past work experience has witnessed you doing that? Those are the people that you're going to want to use as your references. As part of the prepping procedure for your references, always ask permission first, but then when you're called for an interview, be sure your references are updated. Make sure they have a copy of your resume and your cover letter and the job description for the position that you're being called in for the interview for. Sometimes companies are making quick decisions, so they may be calling your references faster than you can get home to alert your references that you had a great interview and they might be called. So just keep your references updated all along the process and think skill-wise, who can best talk about my skills that I would be using in this new position. Also, talk to your references about why you're making this move. How does this align with your career goals? And this can help them with their information, perhaps, that they also will share. Because sometimes they may be asked, why do you think so-and-so is leaving this position? And the reference can share a little more on how it may be this target position aligns a little better with your career goals. When you ask for references, I have not had someone ask for written references in probably 25 years. So there's really no need to ask your references for the time to write a written reference. However, if they would like to write something on LinkedIn for you, LinkedIn references are helpful and many employers do look at those. So some homework for you. If you do not have recommendations, written recommendations on LinkedIn, I encourage you as a goal to have 2 or 3 people write a written recommendation for you on LinkedIn. Strategy on how to do that would be just to simply ask, and then you can send them an email with a few sentences or a paragraph of content that they could potentially use on LinkedIn as a trigger when they're writing your recommendation. Maybe you could remind them of a project that you served on together with some metrics. Another strategy would be to do some recommendations on LinkedIn for other people, some unsolicited recommendations, and others will often pay it forward. We talked a little bit about if it is a confidential job search. Now let's talk about some questions that your references are going to likely receive. These are things that you can also have typed up and sent in advance, the answers to these questions to your references as part of helping to coach and prepare them. How long have you known the candidate and in what capacity? They'll often verify your job title and the dates of your employment, so make it easier on your reference and just give that all to them so that they can come off as confidently as possible. What are your strengths or weaknesses or growth opportunities? When it's related to a specific technical skill or skill required, they may be asked to describe the candidate's ability to whatever that skill might be. They may ask some people skills, some teamwork type questions. And what was it like to really work with you? Or what would their coworkers say about it? Or people that worked under you? What would they say? Describe one of their major accomplishments and then a major challenge. Tell us something about the candidate that may not be on their resume. Why did this person leave your organization? And are they eligible for rehire? A great way to help your references would be to type up a couple of your accomplishments using the STAR format. And we've talked about that a lot here in Job Club, the STAR interview technique, where when you're asked a behavioral or a situational question in an interview, we always encourage people to use that format when they respond. And that's an acronym for what was the situation you faced or task, the action you took, and the result. So using that STAR format, situation, task, action, result, type up a few stories that demonstrate some of your accomplishments that may be used as a memory tickler for your references to use. Because if it's been a while since they've worked with you, they might not have a quick story. Or if you're a modest type person, it may not have come on their radar. So just help them out and share a few stories that they could potentially use when they're talking about you. We talked a bit about if it's a confidential job search and how to handle that. I'm also happy to take any additional questions that you have to this point. So if you have questions, go ahead and send those in. Use that chat box. This is an area where I've seen way too many clients fail. And as career counselors, this is an area that you should not be failing. This is just good communication. Please, please, please keep your references up to date. It's really a bit offsetting when you read on LinkedIn that someone you were a reference for got a new job, or you hear it through the grapevine that somebody got a new job that you were a reference for. So please be respectful and courteous and keep your references informed of the steps along the process. And also ask them, if you get called, will you please let me know? And that's a good indication that you are moving along in the hiring process. So I've had, in past job searches, my references have been really good about saying, oh, Caroline, I think you're getting close. I just got a reference call from XYZ, and these are the questions they asked me. These are the things that I told them. So just have that good communication and keep them informed of every step along the way. Speaking of good communication, I had a client in the past that was quite clever. She wasn't actively looking for a job, but she knew she needed to keep the people she wanted to use as a reference close, especially after she left her former employer. So every year on her former boss's birthday, she took him to lunch or met him for coffee. And I thought that was so clever of her, because she said, he is my best reference. He has seen me at my best. I don't want to lose touch with him. And it's very awkward if you call a boss after 5 or 6 years and you've never spoken to them in the meantime and say, hey, I'm in a job search again. Would you still be willing to be a reference? And you've had no communication with them since you left the company. So the people that know your work that will be great references for you, have an annual coffee date with them, send them a birthday card, a holiday card, really keep in good communication with those people that could help down the road. We never know what our job situation will be and when we'll need some references. Another strategic thing to do is, let's say you've had an interview and maybe in the interview, there's a couple of areas that the selection committee seems to have targeted where you're perhaps a little weak, but you're still moving through the process. Be sure and talk to your reference afterwards and say, just in case you get called, they seem to be a little concerned about this. I might not have enough years of experience in this. Here are some strategies or some things that maybe you could share that would help reassure them that I can hit the ground running, that I'm a quick learner, that this will not be a problem. Next, be sure and thank your references. Send them a written thank you note, take them for a coffee. Be sure not only to keep them up to date, but also to thank them thank them for utilizing their time and for serving as a reference for you. Then they're going to be more likely to do that in the future. No one in life gets by alone. We all need each other to help us get through some difficult times. If we're in a job search, sometimes our confidence is down, and our references, they're the people that can help be there for support. They're the ones often, if they're former supervisors, that can say, hey, in the next interview, you might want to share about the time you were in charge of that project. I think it would demonstrate these skills. So your references ideally are also people that are your encouragers and your support system during this process. So be sure and keep them informed. Lastly, be sure and let us know here at Job Club when you get offers and when you've had success stories or had interviews. We love to share in your success as well, and we can't wait to celebrate and learn from you. Learn what kind of questions you were asked or what seemed to be important to the selection committee. We learn a lot by hearing about your job search experiences and enjoy going along with you on that job search journey. So in summary, please be more strategic and conscientious when choosing future references. Who can speak to some of the target skills for the job that you're applying to? Who can speak to your reliability, your ability to be a good team member? Always get their permission, coach and prep them, spend the time doing that, keep them informed all along the process, and then be sure to thank them. Let's take a few questions if we have any questions that have come in the chat box. Okay, thank you so much for joining us for this presentation on references today. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Amanda now for the rest of our Job Club program. Amanda?
Great presentation, Caroline. Thank you. All right, let's shift over to our employer update section for the program. Any employers with active job leads online, feel free to use the raise hand feature. Any employers in person, make your way to the podium. If you're shy, prefer to email them, that's okay too. Email us job leads by noon today, and we'll get them into our job lead newsletter, jobclub@uky.edu. I know we do have one employer online, Nicole Waite with UK Steps, one of our wonderful partners for Job Club. And Nicole, why don't you go ahead and unmute and go on camera? You can give your update.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you perfectly.
All righty, thank you. Okay, so once again, I just want to thank you all for joining Job Club today. And if you are not familiar with STEP, STEP is a temporary employment within the University of Kentucky. And so we are a part of the University of Kentucky. We're not an outside agency. We're right here in the heart of HR. And so today, let's see here, we have we have a few administrative assistant positions that are open. And let's see if I can share the link for the job. And if I cannot, then I will definitely get that sent to Amanda so that we can put it in the newsletter later today. We have an administrative assistant, patient services coordinator position. Let's see here. Believe that is all that is highlighted for now, and I'm pretty sure that there will be more to come. And of course, if you're interested in temporary employment or want to speak a little more about temporary employment, feel free to contact me, Nicole Waite, at nicole.waite@ky.edu. And of course, you can reach out to one of our Job Club members to speak a little more if you're interested. But of course, I just want to thank you again for joining us today at Job Club, and we hope to see you next time.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Yesterday, Nicole and I were talking about a success story that's out, but a Job Club attendee that is getting ready to sign on for a full-time job at UK. So stay tuned in for the testimonial for that. Okay. Any other employers online? I didn't see any. Okay. News from our partners. Keep in mind, Fayette County Cooperative Extension, great partner for us, offer a great deal of programming. You can see all that online. We'll share it into the chat box. UKHR temporary employment. That was Nicole's update just now. We'll pop that link into the chat as well. UK Steps temporary employment is a great way to get on at the university if you're looking to join UK's team. And Alumni Career Services, Caroline and I are happy to take career clients. The wait's not long right now. I think you could probably get an appointment in the next week or so on deck. So if you need to chat about references, we're happy to do that. Many of our clients right now, I have a couple of clients that are working on interview strategy. So we're available to you to talk about job search strategy, interview, resume, reference preparation. Many folks approaching performance review time of the year. So if you're interested in more career management strategy related to that or career wellness, we also offer those appointment types too, and we'd love to work with you. All right, next time at Job Club, Caroline's back on deck for job search strategies. January the 10th. Hope to see you online with us or in person at the Fayette County Cooperative Extension. On behalf of the UK Alumni Association, Fayette County Cooperative Extension Service, and UKHR Steps Temporary Employment, thank you so much for joining Job Club today. We wish you a wonderful holiday season and hope to see you again on January the 10th to share your success story.